Chapter 6. Jesus Had Long Hair. If I wasn't already hooked on playing the drums, after that first live performance, I was completely addicted. Feeling the crowd's energy and getting all that praise made it clear. I had to get back on the stage fast. Not only was I reassured of what I needed to do for the rest of my life, but my friends and I grew even closer. There was something about bonding on that stage and all of the preparation that went into the performance that really brought us closer. And that goes not only for the few who performed, but the whole crew. It was as if when OG, Jimmy, James, and I kicked ass at that talent show, the whole crew was lifted to another social status in our school. We became the A crowd that everyone wanted to be a part of. We were essentially rock stars walking down the hallway every day. I know it sounds corny, but at 11 and 12 years old, a little thing like that talent show can really make a kid popular. 6th grade became one of the best years of my life. Even though there were 2 higher grades at our school, we were the kings of the school now. Something came over all of us after that. Our teacher at the time, Mr. Green, was kind of a weird old man who we used to abuse. Don't get me wrong, we weren't necessarily bad kids, but we knew how to push the limits. Mr. Green didn't last long because of our behavior. Rumor has it he had a heart attack, but we never knew for sure. After Mr. Green's supposed heart attack, we went through about 12 or 13 substitute teachers who would all quit after the first day because of us. We loved it. This speaks to why the power of the stage, even though it was a stupid lip-synced performance, was so addictive to me. In truth, I naturally have an addictive personality, which is why I've never tried a drug in my whole life. My drugs were my drums and performing. I never needed a bigger high than that. After all of the substitute teachers quit, the school finally hired a permanent replacement, a young 22-year-old right out of college. Her name was Miss Whalen. Van Halen's Hot for Teacher video was still pretty popular at this point, and we would always joke around with, what if we got a hot teacher like in the video? Well, it happened. After Miss Whalen got there, all the boys were pretty well behaved to stay on her good side. We even volunteered to stay after class sometimes to help her clean the blackboard. An added bonus for being such good boys was that Miss Whalen would always drive us home in her 1968 red Mustang. She didn't know what she was getting herself into. Even though I was behaving better in the classroom, my rivalry with my principal, Sister Marie, was just heating up. I already hated her because of the manipulation game she pulled about my tuition being late. Now, because of my music, I was growing my hair long, and that was a big no-no in Catholic school. In fact, students weren't allowed to have the back of our hair even touch our collar. What a ridiculous rule. It's not like I was dirty or my hair was sloppy. It was just starting to get a little long. Every time Sister Marie spotted me, she would pull me into her office and scream that I needed a haircut. She would try to demean me by saying, "You look like a girl," or "You look ridiculous." Can you believe that? This from someone who was supposed to be guiding us in our religious beliefs. She was trying to humiliate me because I looked different than what she liked. My hatred grew to the point that now, out of spite, I refused to cut my hair. So eventually she just suspended me. Yes, you heard right. She would keep a 12-year-old out of class because his hair was too long. I didn't care. I looked at a day of suspension as a day off from school. Even though I was suspended often, it never hurt my grades because I was smart and never needed to study or do homework. While I was far from a straight-A student, I didn't even have to try to pass tests. Unfortunately, I also found school rather useless because I knew I was going to be a drummer and/or a wrestler. This attitude made me even more rebellious. It was as if I felt I knew more than my teachers, and I was 100% sure that I knew more than my jerk of a principal, Sister Marie. The first time I was suspended because of my hair, Sister Marie sent a long note home outlining the school rules and why she thought my hair looked ridiculous. She also wrote that I needed to have it cut to school regulations in order to return to school the next day. I was nervous bringing the note home to my mom. I knew that being suspended was not something she would take lightly. I never hid anything from my mom. She, along with my dog Yukon, were my absolute best friends. Maybe my brother Dan a close third. I was going to be honest and tell her what happened. When I presented my mom with the note from Sister Marie, I expected the worst. I assumed she would be angry and insist that I cut my hair because it was the school rule. She read the note as I stood by anxiously awaiting her verdict. Once finished, she looked at me and said, "You tell that Sister Marie Jesus had long hair. Why can't you?" I was overcome with joy that my mom was on my side and saw how ridiculous the suspension was. In my heart, I knew she believed in me and my drums and wasn't going to side with some repulsive nun over her son and his dreams. She proved, once again, why she was the greatest mom in the world. I returned to school the next day with my hair exactly as it was and proceeded to march into Sister Marie's office. Upon seeing me, her face turned red as fire, and I swear there was smoke coming out of her ears. She couldn't believe that I returned without a haircut. She barked, "Why is your hair not cut like I demanded?" In a very calm voice, I answered, "Jesus had his hair long. Why can't I?" This sent Sister Marie into a frenzy like I've never seen before. She couldn't believe that I'd not only disobeyed her, but that I had a smart answer for her. An answer she probably wasn't ready for. That comeback not only cost me a full week of suspension, but it fueled the fire in the Joey versus Sister Marie rivalry that would last for the next 2 years. The only time I ever remember actually disappointing my mom was when I was an altar boy. Scally and I were set to serve Mass one Friday, and for some reason we got the really bad case of the giggles. Earlier that day, we were laughing at a girl's name from our school. Her name was Martha Bartha. Now, Martha was sweet as can be, but whenever Scally and I said those two names together, we laughed uncontrollably. We would say it like this: Martha Bartha. For some reason, that made us laugh uncontrollably. Later in the day, my mom came to see her baby boy serve Mass. She was so proud of me and even had all of her friends come to see what an angel boy she had serving God. About 10 minutes into the Mass, while Scally was holding the Bible for the priest to read, I quietly whispered, "Martha Bartha." This sent shockwaves down Scally's spine and began laughing uncontrollably, which caused the Bible to shake, which also caused the priest not to be able to read it anymore. Needless to say, he wasn't very happy. He screamed at us and told us to move back into our holding area while the Mass continued. Unfortunately for him and the rest of the church, that made matters even worse. Scally and I couldn't stop laughing, and now we were so loud the whole church could hear us. This caused the priest to finally throw us off the altar, and we weren't even allowed to serve Mass again for quite a while. It's a funny story, but at the time, my mom was furious and absolutely mortified. Now that my friends and I were kings of the school, and heavy metal music was the most popular music around, we agreed to officially start our own band. There was a music store on Flatbush Avenue called King James Music. Every day after school, we'd walk over there and look into the window at the different guitars to see if we could buy them. The plan was simple. Once they bought the guitars, we would practice day and night to become the biggest band in the world. We might even tour with Kiss one day. That was our dream. Unfortunately, I realized quickly that nobody had the same drive that I had. I would let nothing stand in my way. Not school, not lack of money, not the pain of hard work, and not someone telling me I was crazy for thinking I was going to be a rock star. If anything, all those things drove me even more. Whenever someone said, "You're nuts," or "All you think about is wrestling and drums," or "Cut your hair, you're never going to be a professional drummer," the more I wanted to show them that I would do what I wanted and become the world wrestling champion and a famous drummer one day. My focus never wavered.